Hello, everyone. My name is Heather. I work here at Eagle Eye Networks in the marketing department. Thank you for joining us for our webinar called What's Driving the Shift to the Cloud. I'm going to introduce our speakers for today. We have Patrick Cook. He's our Senior Director of NA Sales. And we also have Jody Russell, our Sales Engineer. I'd like to go into a little bit of background for them. For Patrick Cook, he has over 20 years of experience in the physical security industry. He's held strategic roles within national integration firms and manufacturing leaders, managed major industry transitions of analog to IP, and now the shift from on-premise to cloud-based systems. As for Jody Russell, he has over 16 years of security integration experience as a system installer, manager, service provider, and designer. His experience as an integrator provides a special lens through which to see the challenges inherent in any install and how to provide the best possible solution. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Patrick, who will begin our presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather, for that great introduction. Very excited to be here today discussing the shift to cloud. Also want to say thank you for those attendees out in the audience today. I know it's not always easy to carve out time during the day for efforts like this, so lots of appreciation for those that can make the time. And I know you're going to walk away with some good value today. I did review the attendee list and easily recognize some familiar names and acquaintances, so thank you for joining. For those of you that I don't know, please make sure to connect with me on LinkedIn, so let's make sure we continue the cloud conversation that we start here today. So, we're good. So who and what is Eagle Eye Networks? Well, to begin to tell that story, first and foremost, we need to start with our founder, Dean Draco. And I think you would all agree that anytime you're starting out to impact an industry, you need to have a strong, dedicated leadership at the top. Dean certainly embodies those details to the letter. And for those not familiar with him, I would absolutely encourage you to Google his background and look at his bio. So with strong leadership like that, you need a clear vision. You need the means to execute it. And thank you, Barracuda Networks, for that. And a vehicle to deliver that message, which is exactly what we have in Eagle Eye Networks. So we're an 8-year-old company with 5 years of product in the field. We are the #1 cloud-based video surveillance company in the world. And I should emphasize that we are a pure cloud-based VMS and will continue to be a key differentiator for us into the foreseeable future. Our headquarters located here in beautiful Austin, Texas. We always encourage you to stop by if you happen to be in town for business for occasion. And globally, we've got offices in Amsterdam, Tokyo, and Colombia. Our customer base also extends into 80 countries worldwide and growing every day. So now that we've discussed the pillars supporting our efforts here, let's get into the foundation of why we are here today, and that's to discuss cloud. You know, what is it? Where is it? Is it really a cloud, right? These are the kinds of questions that seem to be floating around out there. So as you can see on the slide here, this is actually a very good definition of cloud. If you were to go to Wikipedia or Webster's, you know, it reads, cloud computing is the on-demand availability of computer systems, resources, especially data storage and computing power, without direct active management by the user. For me personally, I tend to think about cloud as a collection of microservices, right? But Jody, let's get you in the conversation on this and maybe give us your insight into cloud and how you define it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Patrick. And thank you everyone for attending the webinar. I think that this is very, very beneficial information. So what's driving the shift to the cloud? How do we define the cloud? From a technical perspective, I always go back on what the National Institute of Standards and Technology considers the 5 tenets of cloud computing. So we're going to talk about on-demand self-service, broad network access, elasticity, scalability, resource pooling, and measured services. Those are the 5 things that really differentiate between true cloud versus maybe doing some of those things and not the others, or maybe adding a little bit of server space offsite somewhere and then calling that cloud. Those do not have the same value or bring the same power that you get when you're actually following along the 5 true tenets of cloud computing. What's driving the shift to the cloud? I say the consumer, the need for these 5 things to happen with whatever product it is, whether it's VMS, which is, you know, the space that we're talking about in most of the time, or it's simply just other processes, other applications that they need for some sort of service. It just makes sense now to move it to the cloud because of the 5 tenets. And anytime that you come up against a possible barrier as to why you need to keep something local or you need to keep it on-prem, any one of these tenants will stand alone by themselves to sort of help guide why that's not quite the way it should be anymore.
Yeah, fair enough. Good overview there, Jody. You'll notice, for those of you in the audience here, that we've got some examples of some cloud-based companies that we work with every day. The ones that stick out to me personally are Netflix that I use at home and Brevo that we use here. They're a sister company of ours in the access control space. So a lot of good examples, and we think that, again, this is the leading edge of the wave that will be taking over the security industry as well. So when you've been discussing cloud, you'll notice that these solutions are typically presented in 3 different platform categories. The easiest way I think we can address these is really kind of paint a useful picture for you. So in that first category is infrastructure as a service. So we all love our cubicle lifestyle, I know. So let's think about this as a desk that we might use to work from. Then we could actually look at category that's listed as number 3 here on the slide, platform as a service. And that could be viewed as a map that we would lay down on top of that desk to work from. The last category, and one emphasized here in the middle, is software as a service, which is exactly where Eagle Eye exists. And we would simply be that software application that you apply to that map and execute a security program. Here's another visual that we've got that, that might explain this a little bit further. Jody, any emphasis here on the
pyramid graphic makes perfect sense. So exactly as it sort of makes sense logically, you're looking at infrastructure. Infrastructure is the legs of the table, as you described it. And then you're looking at the platform. You're unrolling a platform that then you are able to point to anywhere on that platform and say, this is where I need my service. This is where I need my features to be within the ecosystem of this platform. And that's where the service delivers the little mark on the map. All of these companies that are listed, they all do a very good job in each one of their unique spaces. And you will find companies that do all 3 of these different spaces. Where we come from when we're talking about video surveillance, any one of these different usage of the cloud is still going to point back to the 5 tenets of the cloud. And then it's going to just have a unique part of what it offers according to those 5 tenets. When we talk about what we do with software as a service, or specifically VMS or VSaaS as a service, we're utilizing both platform and service sort of through what we do with our API.
Perfect. Now that we've kind of set the stage there, Jody, can you help us define the cloud computing platforms that we typically see out into the marketplace?
Yeah, absolutely. So public cloud, we are all at this point familiar with what public cloud is. When you think of all of the applications that you access from your cell phone, when you think of the ability to store photos up in the cloud, when you have the ability to store your contacts, or even if you wanted to go out and rent a little bit of cloud space, get together with some brilliant people and build an API and then host that API on that cloud space and hopefully make yourself a small fortune off your new app. That can be done all through public cloud. You also have private cloud. The benefits of private cloud over the public cloud is enough content for another webinar. Specifically what we're talking about when I think of private cloud is, you're joining a private community of like-minded businesses that see the value in focused, specialized services where pooled resources on a purpose-built platform just make more sense. And essentially you kind of get into a situation where the more the users, the less cost per resource. And that's one of the main benefits of private cloud. And of course, you also have hybrid cloud solutions that will leverage both public and private cloud according to what it is that the service needs to have available to it and where those services are best found within public or private cloud.
Perfect. At this point, let's take a pause real quick and think back a little bit to how video has traditionally been implemented here. On the slide here, you'll notice that we've got DVRs and NVR appliances referenced here. And what I'd like for you in the audience to be thinking about are the typical pain points, right, that and requirements that come along with implementing systems with that traditional architecture. And so you've got just the front end out-of-pocket expenditures, you've got hidden maintenance costs, you've got life cycling of the hardware itself, OS updating that you've got to do on routine maintenance, the VMS updating that's typically part of the overall effort. And so when we actually get down to and then start to compare that against cloud, we really do start to emphasize why cloud is the most efficient, most economical answer to all of those concerns. And oh, by the way, let's absolutely talk about what else we can do with that. So. Jody, I'm going to have you jump in here on a few of these key points here.
So I think immediately as a consumer, when you think of cloud, no matter the application you're applying to that cloud, immediate concerns are going to arise about cybersecurity and about reliability. Cybersecurity is one of the biggest facets of moving your personal, sensitive, important data to the cloud. Again, that's a whole nother round of webinars to really dive into all the different conversations you could have about cybersecurity, specifically for what Eagle Eye Networks does with cybersecurity. We basically, in our VMS service, cybersecurity starts with our cyber lockdown feature. This feature isolates the cameras from the internet. We utilize AES encryption standards for transmission and at rest. And we also offer a very robust set of access controls and permission-based management that really you cannot get that level of security in a local system, no matter what. Essentially, for a local system, you're going to have to give somebody access to be able to program that system, retrieve video for you, utilize the system for its day-to-day operations. And inevitably, as you begin to try to scale your local system to match what it is that you need it to do, you end up needing more and more people that have to have access, or more and more people that need more diverse rules about what they can do when they have access to the system. And it becomes a management problem. You're looking at automating your cybersecurity in a way by moving it to the cloud, specifically with what we do because of the actual isolation that happens through our cyber lockdown feature. We're very, very confident that the cybersecurity standards that we have in place are more than adequate to allay anyone's fears as far as if they're still concerned at this point in the technology of moving things to the cloud.
Perfect. How about let's transition to what you like to work with every day, and that's the design and the architecture of our systems out in the field.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite graphics. We show this on a lot of our content, a lot of our material that goes out. We always make sure to include this very specific graphic. And one of the main reasons that I really like this is it speaks to almost every single aspect of Eagle Eye Networks, VMS, and how each one of those 5 tenets of the cloud can be pointed towards and how we do how we offer our product. So we're looking at this as it's ideal for multiple locations, and that's what's represented on the right of the slide. And it is ideal for multiple locations because of the very facet of the fact that we provide broad network access. We have the elasticity and scalability to move things around and then allow you to access that from one central vantage point. And it doesn't matter where the endpoint is. If it's hitting the cloud and you have that true cloud feature of broad network access, that means that you're going to be able to take all of those different points hitting the cloud, aggregate them behind one single pane of glass, and now you're not wading through multiple logins, you're not wading through different users to different locations. You have everything you need at the touch of a finger. And then there's just every other thing that's kind of represented in this graphic. It speaks to one tenet of the cloud or another. So you've got the connection to the cloud representing 3 servers within that data center. That speaks towards elasticity, scalability, resource pooling, measured services. All of these things sort of are represented in how we take something very simple, recording something on a device that they did for a long time locally, and through technology and adhering to the rules that make us true cloud, we're able to provide a really, really powerful and very easy to use, user intuitive product.
Perfect. And I appreciate that that overview. I think we've got those fundamental points in place. Now let's talk about the flexibility of the system when working with our ecosystem partners as well. Can you step into and discuss our API partnerships?
Yeah, we utilize API, the RESTful API. If you need a brush up on it, that's okay. APIs are sort of just now coming to people's awareness for a lot of the consumers out there. It's an application programming interface. You're already using APIs in your life. Probably a large portion of your life happens through an API. If you think of your mobile banking app, even Google, your G Suite, all of the things that you access remotely from your smartphone, or you access that you don't actually have a piece of hardware driving. That API also allows us to do seamless integration to other APIs. So as the technology becomes more and more prevalent in the industry, everyone moves to some sort of API platform. And then because we utilize the REST API and they utilize their API, we're able to seamlessly integrate those. Whereas, as you know, Patrick, in the past, integration from a security standpoint, it wasn't as easy as just saying the word integration. There was touching wires together and SDKs that had to be written, and it was very time consuming and very cost consuming. So the API makes those things easier. You're utilizing technology and leveraging that power to reach out and communicate with almost anything out there. You've got Brevo, access control system. They're a VSAT, or they're a SaaS service for access control. You can have your video and you can have your access right there behind that one little piece of glass. You can also turn around and then integrate to something like an alarm system. So we have a DMP integration that is working fantastically. Enterprise analytics, you need cloud computing analytics, we can integrate to that. If you need point of sale integration, we can do that. So the list really goes on and on. It all stems back towards that API platform that is the map, and then putting whatever service you need to on that map and pointing in different directions, you can do that.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think from my standpoint, it was really the proliferation of API connectivity that allowed us to take video and move it from a pure physical security implementation and really join that IoT smart city, smart world kind of initiative, so that we can look at non-security benefits to video inclusion there. So a lot of flexibility within the systems these days. QSRs, retail, small, light commercial, large commercial, campus style, just a lot of different environments now that we can bring additional values that have not traditionally been thought of when it comes to video as well. So as we near kind of the wrap up of this overall webinar, we want to make sure that we've covered a lot of the benefits that we've got here for cloud. So Jody, can you walk us through one more time on these benefits here, please?
This is another really good graphic, really good slide, because it represents a lot of what we've already been talking about throughout this webinar. What's been driving the shift to the cloud? The consumer is driving the shift to the cloud because the consumer needs certain things. They need in our specific case, they need their video surveillance system to provide them certain features. Cost savings, that's on-demand self-service. That's measured service. Those are two tenets of true cloud. Security, we've already discussed quite a bit at the AES encryption, the cyber lockdown feature that we offer, the fact that we are encrypting video in transmission and at rest. So we're providing that security that you need if you're going to move to the cloud. We don't even want that to be anything that you're concerned about. Remote maintenance, again, this is looking back towards true cloud. This is broad network access. That's all it is. You have the ability to access the system remotely, even if that means you need to run maintenance on something. Maintenance speaks towards elasticity, scalability, resource pooling, flexible retention. You only pay for what you want, or you only pay for what you need. And when you don't need it anymore, it goes away. The cost associated to the resources was not something that you absorbed in a big capital expense. That's the important thing about this. Scalability, stability, disaster recovery. There was a time when having just the whole right side of this slide right here, having all of those features available to you meant that you were going to invest a large amount of money in a system that would be scaling to what you think it needs to be in the future. And then if you have to scale back, you've had that huge capital investment and you've got all that hardware sitting in some space, utilizing electricity and everything else. Whereas when you're looking at true cloud, you have elasticity, scalability, and resource pooling, which means you're going to get together in a private cloud like Eagle Eye Networks. You're going to get together with a like-minded group of business owners that all see value, and having all those resources available, but only using what you need when you need it. And then, of course, having the ability to turn that off whenever you want it, access it. I mean, really, I have like one long line that I think of when somebody says, well, what is the cloud? Because I have this conversation quite a bit in our Eagle Eye University in-person workshops. And when I'm out meeting with all of our resellers and our end users, we talk a lot about the cloud. And the question comes up, well, what is the cloud really? So I came up with this kind of long, convoluted sentence, but I love to say it. So I want to say that the cloud is conveniently self-accessible, ubiquitous, on-demand access to a shared pool of configurable, rapidly and flexibly provisioned, measurable service that is delivered on demand. That's the cloud.
That's beautiful. You know, as I think back in my own history within this industry, you know, I came from the traditional enterprise on-premise large video system deployments, and really some of the biggest hurdles that we ran into was you know, finance and budget related, forklifting, you know, large expensive systems to implement something new, you know, 10-year-old end-to-end systems from, you know, manufacturers that are traditional names floating around in the industry. And when cloud became, I think, started to become on everybody's radar, and we started looking into the benefits of it, one of the things that impressed me the most was really how flexible we are when we consider CapEx and OpEx initiatives, you know, out there in the field. And so we can certainly be CapEx friendly, and we can look at annual subscriptions when it comes to, you know, ground floor implementations. And, you know, for those existing systems that are out there, we slide right into an OpEx model very, very easily, where we can look at isolating P&Ls to a single site location and paying on a monthly or however, you know, those OpEx models need to play out based on the accounting. So we definitely have some good information on the website that I think takes a much deeper dive into this, and certainly everybody here at Eagle Eye is available to have these conversations as well. You know, and as we kind of come here to the end, we just want to make sure that, again, we make sure that we've checked all the right boxes for you, and covering the interest of what brought you to the webinar here today. So with Eagle Eye, we went through the different types of clouds. We're talking about a private hosted cloud. You know, we have 12 data centers globally, so that we can essentially expand and help reduce overall costs to maintain and you know, grow that private cloud. We've got the encryption that everybody is very sensitive to in the marketplace on a global scale, and it's inherent to what we do. So you know, it's not an endeavor that on-premise and traditional systems out there have had to take on. It's in our DNA and was built into Eagle Eye from day one. Also, it's video surveillance as a service for those clients that are out there. When we talk about multi-site and segmented databases and having to federate systems so that EMEA locations can talk to locations in North America, we make that a very simplistic and efficient initiative for you to deploy. And that can translate to, you know, multi-site within a single city location as well, where you've got you know, different variables that come into play regarding network connectivity and maybe manned versus unmanned locations in how you maintain those environments. And lastly, the CapEx and OpEx options that we covered there at the end. So I want to make sure, Jody, did I miss anything on those?
Not at all. You and I could sit here and talk about a whole bunch of other stuff and talk about it all day if we wanted to, but I think that this sums up exactly what we wanted to get out in regards to how the cloud is, what has driven the shift to the cloud, but specifically how is Eagle Eye Networks a part of that? You know, and here it is right here on this slide.
Absolutely. So why don't we have Heather jump back in here and we'll see if we've got any questions from the field.
Hello, yes, we did have a few questions come through. So if you don't mind speaking to this, our first question is a two-parter. Are there any hidden fees? If so, how much?
How much are SLAs?
Yeah, so, and Jody, I may ask you to jump in here just to make sure we cover all the bases here. But with Eagle Eye, there's no hidden fees. We want to make sure that we're overt with the cost that it takes to implement our systems. We can help you bypass the traditional SLA requirements that some of the traditional names in the industry have built their models around. We don't require SLAs in place to not only update and maintain your system. We don't require them to have access to our own tech support. So I think we free you up from a lot of the gotchas that the traditional companies and systems out in the marketplace have implemented.
The tech support is a big one for me, coming from my experience as a former technician, or even when I was more into a customer engaged role. The customer, the end user, probably most of the individuals on this webinar, you don't want to have to wait or go through somebody just to get support on a product that you're paying your hard-earned money for. The ability for you to call in and get support is pretty unique in my experience. Have come from the world where you had to have certain tiers of certification that you spent a lot of money and a lot of manpower on to get that certification. And then you become the gatekeeper to support for the end user. And if they're not paying you your fee, then they're not getting the support that they may want. We don't look at that model at all. And while we always make sure that we're focused on the channel and utilizing the right people to deliver our product, we understand that at the end of the day, the thing needs to work. Cameras always need to stay connected. Cameras always need to stay recording.
That's a great thought there. It got me thinking about version releases too, that traditional companies will implement some sort of cost threshold to go to the next version or the next release. With Eagle Eye, we actually update on a daily basis. It's seamless and transparent to the user experience, and
continuous delivery. Absolutely,
and no additional cost there. That also takes us to kind of the daily admin of your systems. You can apply and toggle off analytics on an hour-to-hour, day-to-day basis. You can increase the resolution as you see fit. You can go from 7 days to 90 days to 5 years on a daily basis.
It's all cloud right there. You just listed 3 things specific to True Cloud.
Absolutely.
The way we do it.
So this is something that you can manage your costs within your systems based on your need requirements, right? And so this is going to give you better ownership of your actual environment and give you that customized feel without the customized pricing that you've probably endured in the past. Well, what's question number 2?
All right, our second question, and we actually get this question pretty often, is what if they already have a video surveillance system? Can they still use Eagle Eye Networks?
Absolutely. So, and we can really address this in a couple of different ways, but what comes to mind on the forefront is we are a very easy product to attach to the back end of any existing system that's out there. You can actually send the streams and record across both systems. We could actually be your off-site long term archiving or storage coming from the camera into our bridge and then into the cloud, so that we give you the ability to, again, manage those situations that a risk occurs and you immediately need to go from, a standard NVR or DVR of 30 days, yet you don't have rack space or you don't have maybe the technical knowledge to procure and to set up a enterprise grade server on site. We are a great fit for that, and we actually don't conflict with your existing system. And I think that you'll find the flexibility of adding the Eagle Eye on the back end of that is going to be an easy cost to manage, and ultimately I think it's going to be your video management system of choice to that regard. The other thing is, if you do have a system and you want to test our system, we have pilot programs, and we're excited to always speak with you and make sure that we can get some hardware and cameras and switches in your hand and allow you to actually test everything that we brought to the discussion today. And we've got support behind the scenes that will help you with that. If you're an end user and you actually need to be partnered with a Eagle Eye reseller out in the market, we can certainly do that as well, and we can help cover multiple regions, multiple sites, and really be a true partner when it comes to testing these systems and setting it up. We want to make sure that you are getting the best Eagle Eye experience, to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples with your current systems that are out there. Jody, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, one thing to add as far as if we can go into an existing system. So camera compatibility is one of our big benefits. We utilize an ONVIV compliant system where that allows us to essentially claim that we're supportable over 2,000 camera models across 50 different manufacturers out there. And that is a claim that I'll stand behind, because you can go on Eagle Eye on our website, EEN.com. You can go straight to our camera compatibility page and see every single camera that's been attached to a bridge is listed on that page. And if it's on that page, it's been attached to a bridge somewhere in the world and it works. And that's a lot of peace of mind for somebody that's thinking about moving into our system. They've invested a large amount of money on cameras that they like or cameras that work just fine for them, and they're not necessarily looking to go and replace these new cameras that they've already paid for. They can quickly jump online, go to our camera compatibility list, find the model of that camera, and rest assured that we can connect to it and have it up and stream it to the cloud pretty quickly and easily.
Perfect. So I think that's the last of our questions here. Heather, what's our next steps from this point?
I'm glad you asked, Patrick. But first of all, thank you very much, Patrick and Jody, for presenting today. And thank you for everyone who stayed till the end of the webinar. We did see a few questions come through, so we'll be addressing those after. So the next steps for you. Let's connect here. Give us a call, send us an email so that we can schedule a demo with you and go more in depth about all the features unique to Eagle Eye Networks. Also, you want to check your email, and you'll find a link to this webinar. There will be recorded, and you will also receive further reading material on the subject as well. So if anybody has any last words?
No, thank you very much. Excited to be a part of the show today.
The cloud won.